So imagine this. You're a receiver for your favorite team, playing in your last year of professional football, and you're in the Super Bowl. You're on the last play, one more drive to go to win it. Your quarterback snaps the ball, throws it right to you. You run in for the touchdown, but before you hit the end zone, you get knocked out by someone. It doesn't even have to be anyone specifically. You get knocked out, and this is not your first concussion. You've told your coach multiple times before that you're perfectly fine. You're able to go right back into the game, and so you go right back in. Concussion and all. The dangers of concussions are very obvious. And in multiple cases, it's led to chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is a degenerative brain condition. This has been going on for years, though. It's been called punch-drunk syndrome. And it happens in more than just football. It can happen in baseball, boxing, any sport that's contact. It doesn't even have to be a sport that you could have this from. If you have one concussion already, you're 1 to 2 times more likely to receive a second one. Or if you've had 2 before, a third is 2 to 4 more times likely. And if you've had 3, then it's even up to 3 to 9 times more likely to receive your 4th concussion, according to Sports Concussion Institute. One of the things that I am specifically stating is not for you specifically, but for your children or anyone who is planning on getting into a contact sport or is in a contact sport. Their purpose should not be to go in and have multiple concussions and just to go right on out. Their health is so at risk that they can develop severe brain damage over the course of multiple years. Even shorter of a time, you may end up with a skull fracture from getting hit with a baseball, just like multiple pitchers have recently, none of which I can come to name, but there are points out there where you have someone who's been hit in the head and they've either died or they've gotten close to dying. Now, specifically, a concussion is caused by a direct blow to the head, or it could be an indirect blow to the body. It's considered a brain injury, which is lumped together with multiple different things. Now, you or your children, if you take up a contact sport and you're still young enough to take one up, or if your children take up a contact sport, they may end up with brain damage after receiving multiple concussions. You, as a parent, or you as a person who is doing the sport, may end up with hefty amounts of medical bills just from your MRI, your CT scan, your doctor visits. You may not be as socially inept as other people are after having so many concussions that it may jar your brain. But by being into that part, you may also end up in an even bigger discussion on whether or not you need to have a contact, or whether or not contact sports should be eliminated entirely or not. The NFL has actually recently underwent a lawsuit where actually I think it's more like 100 of their previous football players are suing them because they've developed brain damage, or CTE, which is slowly destroying their brain. Now, you may say that you won't want to take up a contact sport, or your children shouldn't take up a contact sport, and you're going to go ahead and do that. That's perfectly fine to do, but concussions will happen anywhere. You may end up with a rock dropped on you. You may end up getting hit in the head with a tree branch. just by trying to cut a tree down, or you may not know what's going on and you may get hit in the head with like a can of paint or something. It helps to be educated on what a concussion is. If you decide that your child won't get a concussion, or if you don't put them into a contact sport, I mean, I've been swimming for the past 5 years, and I've had 2 concussions just in that sport alone. It happens to everyone. Now, being more knowledgeable about what concussions are, it helps to know that it does help to take your child or yourself to a doctor after you think you've suffered some sort of a concussion. You may end up having a headache, your pupils may be dilated, you may just feel really dizzy or like you're not there whatsoever. And it helps a lot to go in and have an assessment of symptoms just to figure out how bad your concussion is, because I guarantee you that you may have a small headache after your concussion, but it still is there, and that's still considered brain damage. You'll want to let your brain heal. So what better place to go to than to go and see a doctor about what sort of options you have as far as it goes. If your doctor believes that you're suffering from some prolonged symptoms, you may end up with a CT scan or an MRI, and those all will help to figure out how deadly your concussion is, which deadly isn't probably the best word to say, but if you have other things such as hematoma, hemorrhage, anything such as that, you'll want to be checked out relatively quickly. And that's only up to your athletic trainer or a coach based on how bad you are, because if you're laying on the ground, not conscious whatsoever, you will end up wanting to go and see a doctor about it. One of the things that would help is to go online and go to the Sports Concussion Institute and look at their concussion facts, because this is a website based out of all facts. Now, specifically to something like a professional football player, as a statement that I originally started out with, it's the most common sport for concussion risk for males, at the 75% chance for concussion. Or soccer is the most common sport for females to have a concussion, and a 50% chance of that. Now, if you're playing in professional football, which very few people ever do, they receive 900 to 1,500 blows to the head during a season. Headache and dizziness are your most commonly reported symptoms, and about half of the athletes do not report feeling any symptoms after a concussive blow. But one of the good things to know about is that fewer than 10% of sport-related concussions do involve a loss of consciousness, also known as blacking out or seeing stars, something to that effect. Again, it's something where you really need to educate yourself about.